Coach is on the road, and I ran across one of the men for the White Sox, Stewart. How we doing?
Doing good, man.
All right. Now, my show reaches a young audience, young, inspiring baseball players. So I always ask the major leaguers, what was your role like getting to the big leagues?
Just gotta take it one day at a time, and just a lot of hard work, and just basically putting yourself in there every day, and just getting the job done.
Like getting exposure to get you to the big leagues.
It's tough. There's times when it's tough. I came from a small town, and trying to basically get looked at to get to college, and get the opportunity to get drafted. So there's obviously tough times, but like I said, you just got to keep working and push through it.
So what is it like when you're trying to get major league hitters out?
It's tough. I mean, these guys get paid a lot of money to slap the ball around the yard, so it's tough sometimes to get them out, but push through.
So how do you go about preparing yourself for that young pitcher out there?
You look at the scouting reports and listen to the veteran guys and see what they have to say, and they'll put in their 2 cents and tell you what they use to get guys out, and you just kind of take little pieces here and there and put it together and use it what works best.
So when you were in high school, you had a lot of college coaches beating the door down for you?
No, not really. I actually went to a Division II school out of high school, and then transferred there to a junior college. Only a couple of schools actually really talked to me out of high school, and then after that I worked my way into getting noticed, and then went from there.
So what junior college did you go to?
North Central Texas College in Gainesville, Texas.
So how did you wind up putting yourself out there when the coaches came to see you and so on and so forth?
Just trying to take it serious, but at the same time you got to go out and have fun, and you can't put too much pressure on yourself just because someone's there watching or whatever, a scout or a college coach, whatever it may be.
So how hard were you throwing in high school?
I don't know, upper 80s, low 90s.
Low 90s, man. I should have knew you when you was in high school. So when you burst on the college scene, and the scouts started coming out, and you found yourself developing and piquing their interest?
Yeah, oh yeah. I can remember, being at Tech, just having, we'd have scout days and have scouts coming in and, talking to those guys, and that's when it, really became, apparent to me, like, hey, after these guys talk to me, maybe I have a chance, maybe I can get, work my way into pro ball.
So when you got drafted, you got that call that you was drafted, what was that feeling like?
Oh, it's the start of a dream. Obviously the dream was to play in the major leagues, but that's where the road started, and it was a big day, and my family was happy, and it was just a great moment.
And when you walked in there for the first time, minor league contract, got that plane ticket to go down in the minor leagues, did you expect it to be like it was going to be, or you expected it to be like the big leagues?
No, I'd known some guys that played, and so I knew that it wasn't. It's at the lower levels it can be tough, and it's a rough road to get to the big leagues. But that's part of it. It's part of the journey to work through those times and get up here.
And when you made it to the big leagues, first game, what was that experience like?
Oh, it was a dream come true, and it was I was really nervous the day before and leading up to it, but. Once the game got started, I was excited to be there.
So how does it feel to be with the White Sox?
It's awesome. I'm really happy about the move over here, and it's been a great experience.
And I see you pitching out there. Look like you got a little bulldog in you out there on the mound.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I like to go at guys and challenge people.
You like to throw over the first base a lot too.
Yeah, I do.
When I was coaching college ball, them type pitches drove me crazy.
Oh yeah, well, just trying to work him over there, work it out a little bit for my catcher, make it easier on him.
When you're pitching on the mound and you got them big crowds out there, how do you keep yourself focused?
It doesn't really come into play to me. And once you get out there on the field, you got a job to do, and it kind of just goes between you and the catcher. You just kind of focus on the mitt.
All right, so tell those youngsters, last question, what got there and tell those youngsters what it's like being in the big leagues?
It's amazing, man. Keep working. If you have dreams to come up here, it's a great experience.
Coach, take your youngsters behind the scene with the man for the White Sox. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Then we ran across one of the scouts for the Kansas City Royals, area scout Scott Melvin. How you doing?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me, and a pleasure to be here. I want to say first and foremost, my helper that works with the Royals up here in the Chicago area, Luke Kyer, sets this up for me every year, and it's a chance for me to see some of the baseball players up here in the Chicago area during the wintertime.
And having scouted for 5 major league teams and coach college baseball. It's every kid's dream of playing Major League Baseball, and you are one of the keys to a kid having that opportunity. So just what goes into it for Scott Melvin when he's looking at ball players?
Well, first and foremost, Mike, we're looking for athleticism, for raw athletic talent that can run. The 5 tools always come into play with arm speed, foot speed, and power, and just the makeup. The makeup is probably something that's sometimes overlooked, and we're looking for kids that A, want to play, and B, have the tools to succeed at the levels.
So there are a lot of kids out there with talent and ability that scouts and coaches don't know about. So how do kids get on your radar?
Well, that's the importance of having good qualified people up here, and I think Lou Collier speaks for himself, ex-big league player that knows what it takes to play at that highest level, and I was real fortunate 2 or 3 years ago to get Lou to join the Royals in a part-time scouting position, and he just keeps giving me a bunch of names to come up and see, and then we put our minds together and try to pick out the best ones, and we just start the process each and every year early before the spring gets rolling, and if we can get a young kid in here, a 2014 or 2015 kid, to put him on our radar now, we can follow him for 3 or 4 years before the draft comes up, and he's available for the draft.
Now, my experience in dealing with youth baseball players, they think it happens in their senior year. And I tell them it usually starts your freshman somewhere around your sophomore year.
Absolutely, Mike. One thing that I always make sure I try to tell young kids is, number one, is stay out of trouble. Keep your grades up, because if you don't have good grades, you don't have any options. But yeah, it starts early. The real baseball players probably started playing baseball when they were 5, 6, and 7, and you know, if they can become stronger, more educated about the game of baseball, I think you're right. Freshman, sophomore year is when they start to become at least noticeable, and then we just watch their progression. We call it tracking their history of a player. So it's very important to find them early and stay on top of them, see how they're developing.
Now, when you find that player, what do? You go to his high school, his summer league games? What do you do from there?
I use any contact I can. I talk to coaches, I talk to athletic directors, former players. You know, Lou puts me on to some guys up here that know the kids better than I do initially. And eventually, if I think the player is a true prospect and someone that's going to wind up on my Kansas City Royal draft list, I will have a home visit or a private visit with the family. I like to know the family and just everything about the young man. We don't like surprises, and I know my scouting director doesn't like surprises during the draft, so we like to cross our T's and dot our I's before the process fully takes place in June.
Now, how did you get off into the scouting business?
Well, unlike Lou, I didn't play in the big leagues, but I played about 7 years in the minor leagues and coached and managed in the minor leagues for the St. Louis Cardinals for about 10 years total, and then was offered a scouting position, and just pretty much parlayed my work ethic and personality into a scouting job, and this is my 17th year scouting. So I just joined the Kansas City Royals 4 years ago, and I'm very excited, and we're a young organization, and we promote the young players, and that's why I'm up here watching some young kids this afternoon.
And some people think you guys have a glamorous job, but they don't realize you're on the road a whole lot.
Yeah, I get that a lot, Mike. You know, it's the thing is I just drove 5 hours. I'm going to be away from my family now for 3 weeks. If you don't like driving in a car and you don't like staying in a motel by yourself, then this probably wouldn't be for you. But there's a lot more behind the scenes that goes into it. It's not just going to the ballpark every day. It's calling coaches, working on a computer, which is not one of my strong suits, and there's a lot that goes into it, and we just don't like to make mistakes because we all make mistakes.
Just this last question, when, you know, part of scouting is finding a player, following that player. When you draft that player and he makes it to the big leagues, how gratifying is that for that scout?
Oh, that's what we get up every morning for. I mean, I've been fortunate in my, I guess I'll call it a young 16-year scouting career, but I've had 4 or 5 guys that got to the big leagues, and particularly the guys that you didn't pay a lot of money to, and when they make that first phone call back to you that they're getting ready to start their first game in the big leagues, it's a big thrill. We don't get any bonuses for it, but boy, it sure feels nice when somebody gets a cup of coffee. And I've had several guys that are still playing in the big leagues, so it's very gratifying. And more importantly, I'm just so excited for the families, because I know, as you said in the beginning of this interview, Mike, most kids that play baseball at a young age, that's their biggest dream, is to play in the big leagues. And so the few that do make it, it's just tremendous honor for all of them, and it's the dedication and their hard work that they put into it.
Coach, take your youngsters behind the scene with the man, Scott Melvin.
Thanks a lot,
All
guys.
right, appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back to Talk to Me with the Coach, Mike. We made this. I'm visiting with the man for the White Sox, third baseman Mark 10.
How we doing today?
I'm actually not Mark T. Yeah, I'm Donnie Lucy. But I'm doing good.
All right, I got you. You didn't hear. All right, I got. All right. You didn't hear that. Now, Berto, you just ruined my reputation with Donnie. All right, I got the man here. Welcome back to Talk to Me with the coach Mike we made this. I got the man here, Donnie Lucy. How we doing?
We're doing good. How are you?
All right, how's Chicago treating you?
Chicago's a great city. This is my second time here. I was here in 07 for a little bit, but it's great to be back.
Okay. Now, my show reaches a young audience and those young aspiring baseball players. So from your experience, what was that road to the big leagues like?
It was a long road. I went through high school and was fortunate enough to get a college scholarship. I went to Stanford out in California and played with.
Make us think you're smart now?
Yeah, I hit the books and that helped me get into school out there and had a good college baseball experience and was fortunate enough to be drafted and spent about 6 years in the minor leagues, just kind of grinding it out and kind of found myself here, as a backup, backing up AJ, and it's been a long road, but it's been fun and it's a lot of hard work, but it's been good.
So what's the grind like in the minor leagues?
It's tough, man. For all those high school kids that are thinking about signing right out of high school, it's not easy. I mean, you're playing baseball, but you go into spring training and there's a thing called extended spring training that a lot of high school kids don't know about. That's when you don't break camp and you actually stay in Arizona and you basically just play and practice for 3 months until a short season starts, and that's tough. Luckily, I went to college, didn't have to do that, and was able to start on a full season team. But it's a long road, man. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's going to be times when you don't think that you got what it takes, and even the best players will tell you in the minor leagues there's been times when they probably doubted, what they were doing, and especially for myself, But you keep grinding and, work hard. Be a good teammate. That helps a lot in the minor leagues. I mean, you're a good teammate, teams will want to keep you around. So, it's a long road, but it's rewarding when you get, to big league.
On the road with the man, Vizquel. How we doing today?
We're doing good.
Well, you eclipsed the record book, future Hall of Famer. What do you contribute to your success with the White Sox this year?
Well, ever since spring training, I really got focused. I started swinging the bat well since Walker started talking to me, the hitting instructor. We changed a little things in the swing. Started to be consistent on my swing, and took that approach to spring training, and then spring training took over into the season where I wasn't playing that much, but once I start playing a little bit more often, the swing started coming along. I'm pretty feeling happy that I've been pretty consistent. That's the most important thing for me. Sometimes you get to change your swing a lot, but I've been very focused on the things that I have to do at the plate, and things are working well.
You've been constantly moving up the ladder on the all-time list to get some very prestigious names. So, how does that make you feel to know that you're constantly edging your way up higher and higher toward the top?
Well, it made me feel surprising because I never thought that I was going to be, talking records right next to Luke Appling, guys like Tony Perez, and guys that, I had passed on the hit list. So it's really surprising to me that I'm still producing, still playing the game. I never thought that I was going to play this long, and, I think I'm privileged. I'm very, very privileged that I get to be in the big leagues. But I've been working out a lot in my career. Stayed really flexible. Took my routine very seriously, and I think that's why I'm still here.
You guys got off to a slow start, and there was a lot of critics wondering if y'all had folded 10 or quit. And now you hit a surge just before All-Star break, and you're leading the division. How gratifying is that you guys are living up to the billing that you were predicted to win your division?
Well, coming into spring training, you take a look at the team that we have in the paper, and you have a pretty good idea where we're going to fit on the division. I never thought that we were going to be fighting for a fourth or third place in this division. But the things weren't going well in the beginning. I know it was just a matter of time for everything to start clicking and falling into place. We got into a good stretch, and now we find ourselves in the first place. I think that's one of the goals that everybody accomplished here ever since we stepped into this field. And now we just want to maintain the same enthusiasm and the way of playing until the end of the season.
Let me ask just one last question. I know you're a future Hall of Famer, and nothing better to do to go out on top. Should this team win a World Series this year, would you retire?
It's a tough question because, I am having a pretty good year so far. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. My body's feeling great. I don't have any soreness or, still playing free of injury. So, I think my body's telling me that I could continue on this game. Maybe I can give it another shot.
So you're telling me back-to-back World Series for the White Sox?
Hopefully.
The coach with the man, Omar Vizquel. Appreciate it. Coach Mike, we made this. We're on the road once again, taking youngsters behind the scenes of what it's like being a Major League ball player. And I got the man here for the White Sox, Gravement. How we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fine.
Yes, sir.
I got a young audience out there, young aspiring high school, college baseball players. They got their dream of playing in the big leagues. You had this dream one day. What's this big league experience like for you?
Oh man, it's really hard to describe in words. It's truly a blessing, and I've tried to show up each day and view it as that. Just ultimately just grateful to have the experience, and I think the more days that I can show up and say, man, this is awesome, and I'm thankful that I get to play a game that I love for a living and get paid to do it, is something I hope that I'll never take for granted. But just from the everyday aspect of playing baseball, it's I have a passion for this game that hasn't died yet, and when it does die, I'll leave. But hopefully that day doesn't come.
And I used to coach college baseball.
Yes.
Scouted for 5 major league teams.
Okay.
Every kid dream of playing in the big leagues.
Right.
They think you guys get drafted, next day you're in the big leagues.
Yeah. I didn't understand that either. When I was in high school and college, I didn't fully understand what it all took to get to the big league level. But I'm a guy that always tries to figure things out. And once I got drafted, I actually gave myself a 3-year period, and I was going to reevaluate where I was after 3 years of being in minor league baseball. Now, I was fortunate enough to have already debuted within that 3-year period of getting drafted. But it is very difficult. I mean, you have 7, sometimes even 8 teams. I know now it's changed a little bit in the minor leagues, but before you even step foot on a Major League Baseball field, that's inside of an organization. So there's a lot of talent that just in the minor league level that you have to compete against. And I think the best way to go about it is always cheer for your teammates to do well. And I think competing against each other, but on the same team, is something that happens, but it can be a positive thing, and it can raise everyone's level of how good they are if you do it in the right manner.
I think when I interviewed Mark Burley some years ago,
Yeah.
he said some of the best players in the minor league never make it to the major leagues.
That's right. And a lot of it comes down to, and I played with Mark Burley when I debuted in Toronto, and it was somebody that I'd always looked up to. And I mean, I believe he had 14 straight seasons of 200 plus innings or more, and that's something that I admired at the time, being a starter. And for me personally, I think there's an aspect of work that gets overlooked, and sometimes the talent that doesn't work, that it doesn't make it, and sometimes the guy that's not as talented that actually puts in work and becomes a better baseball player day in and day out is somebody that can have a successful big league career. And yourself being a scout for a long time, I know you understand that aspect of it, but we'll never be able to put a tangible number on that mentality or the work ethic. And that's what makes the scouting world unique, and also makes guys come to the big leagues. And then also prospects that are very talented sometimes may not make it because of that simple fact of how often do you work. And there's a 4-month, 5-month period in the off season where no one's watching and you feel anonymous, that if you don't put in work in those days, you can actually take a step backwards. So I challenge everyone listening, as a young player to continue to work day in and day out and try to make yourself better.
So, you know, a lot of guys, again, think you guys in the minor league, they think it's the big leagues. I mean, what about that, bro? What about the hotels in the minor leagues?
Yeah, it's I actually was able to experience it after I'd been a big leaguer. I went through Tommy John surgery, and when I was doing my rehab, I actually won a championship with in the Cubs organization with the South Bend Cubs. And I was able to travel on the bus through the cornfields of the Midwest going to Clinton, Iowa, and we won I remember staying at the Americ Inn, and it was probably a hotel that it couldn't have been more than like $49 a night probably. And it was just, it's one of those things that you look back and you are grateful for the experience. But sometimes the guys get complacent and think that is their big leagues when they get drafted. And I was sitting there just reminiscing on the times that I played in the Midwest League and didn't know any better, but then experiencing the big leagues and staying at Four Seasons and places like that, and then going back to the American, it was different. But I respect
Big
those
different
guys.
with roommates and all of that stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
A few more pillow fights,
That's
maybe.
right. Yeah, no doubt.
And what about, I mean, you know, you come in here and you got chefs that prepare your meals for you, this and that. I mean, Torrey Hunter told me about the peanut butter jelly and salami sandwiches.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I talk about being grateful. I try not to take that for granted, because when you show up every day and you do have someone cleaning your cleats every day and someone preparing you pretty much whatever you want here at the big league level. I mean, even traveling like to New York and going on the visiting side, it's steak and lobster if you wanted it every day. And just trying to have that ounce of gratitude of being thankful for that. But also reminiscing back on the PB&Js that I made for myself with a bag of Cheetos, you know, to get me through a day. It is something that I remember buying some ribeyes and throwing them on a George Foreman and thinking that was like a meal in the minor leagues with 7 guys living in a house, you know. It was fun times though, and I mean, during those times I still keep up with a lot of the guys that I live with. It bonded you in a way that you really can't explain.
And then, you know, people don't understand, as an athlete in general, football, basketball, baseball, the team is like a family, you bond.
That's right.
I mean, 40 years I coached, and, you know, I had guys when they was high school, 17 years old. You know, I see them now, we pick up where we left off. When I ask them how old you are, they tell me 50. I'm like, what?
Right.
You know, the memories are still back in your mind from them young days.
Yeah, and I think my dad coached, and he's still coaching high school baseball. He coached and was a PE teacher for 32 years, and now he's retired from being a PE teacher, but he still coaches. And that's one of those things that when we get together, we talk about the good times that we had and the teammates that I was playing with at the time and he was coaching, because he was able to coach me in high school, and some of the funny moments and the things that you'll never forget. And even in college, when I go back to Mississippi State and I'm able to talk to those guys when we have reunions, baseball reunions, because we went from being the worst team in the SEC in 2010 to being runners-up at the College World Series in 2013. So we experienced a lot, and that bond, even the college bond, I think that's why I stress a lot of times for kids coming out of high school to go to college and experience that, the growth that happened and just the memories and the development of a person and a maturity that happened. I don't think I'd be a big leaguer without college, and also just like I said earlier, the memories are something that you can't replace.
Let me ask you these last 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
I mean, when you think about being in the big leagues, you think about the experience, I mean, that journey you traveled, I mean, do you just sometimes just pinch yourself?
I do. I mean, I have those thoughts, and I'll even look at my wife sometimes and say, like, why me? Why me? And I believe I'm blessed and I have influence for a reason. I believe there's favor on my life for a reason, and I believe I'm supposed to handle that properly for a younger generation. And I believe I'm blessed to be a blessing to others, whatever that looks like on a day-to-day basis. But there are many times that I find myself thinking, man, how come me out of anyone? And even like walking out to the bullpen every day when I cross that line, I try to look around the stadium and I just say, thank you for allowing me to be able to do this. I thank the Lord every day when I walk out there. Thank you for allowing me to be able to do this. And I look at my wife and I say, hey, we do this for a purpose. Like, we're here. I was created on purpose and for a purpose, and I'm in this locker room for a reason. And I try to view it every day when I step in here in that aspect.
And when you got that call, you're coming to the big leagues for the very first time.
Yes.
Walked in the locker room and saw your uniform hanging up. What was your thoughts?
Ooh, it was a whirlwind because I didn't know anyone there. I'd never been in a big league camp in spring training, and I went from low A to the big leagues that year. So I've sent out a lot of text messages that day, thanking high school coaches, college coaches, my dad, my family, my mom, my brother. But it was special to see, walk in a locker room that's so nice and see your jersey hanging up. And you are now a part of, in that time when I was with Toronto, some guys that had some pedigrees on that team that were really, really good. You have this sense of I don't belong, but then you have to fight that mentally of like, I'm here for a reason because they believe in me, and I got to go out now and prove that I'm here to stay. And you always fight those when you're a young guy, the mental battle of going through and saying I'm a big leaguer now, and your mind saying that you're not good enough. So I'm not gonna lie, I sat there and I gave up a run. I faced one hitter and gave up a hit, and then I got pulled before the 3-batter minimum, and I battled it for a little bit. But the initial response was, man, this is pretty cool.
Did you cry?
Oh yeah, I'm a crier by nature. So
Finally got somebody in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Coach on the road with the man, KG.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Appreciate you.
it. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir.
Here's this interview. Sit back and enjoy. I got the man. There you go. I did what I said. All right, man. Coach Stewart. Weeks. All right, I'm good at butchering names, so make sure I get it right. I don't want you to jump me over here.
I got you.
All right, we're taking our youngsters behind the scenes, Major League Baseball players. What was it like for you on your road to the big leagues?
It was good. It was a lot of learning experiences. You go through the minor leagues, go through the rough travel, getting on buses, lower class hotels, just kind of working your way through, but it all pays off once you make it to this level.
And these kids that want to play in the big leagues, they think you guys just get drafted in the big leagues tomorrow. They don't realize the dues you guys have to play to get here.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're going to face guys that you've played when you were younger that were real good, and everybody don't make it. You pass through guys who were 25, 29, 30, and on up. And, it's just fortunate, it's a blessing to be able to stay on your grind, continue to work hard, and for things to work out the way they do, you make it to this level, play against the best in the world.
Now, you kind of went through the minor leagues and made it up here pretty quick. So, I mean, did you get a real taste of the dues that they had to pay to get up here?
Yeah, I mean, quick in baseball is 2-3 years. That's quick. So, I still spent my dues. It wasn't as long as some guys, but 2-3 years, you can learn a few things in 2-3 years, and I definitely seen a lot. You learn a lot from a lot of older guys, and you just got to stay focused and continue to work hard.
Hey, I watched you last year when you came up here and played the White Sox, and you hit a triple, and by the time I blinked my eye, you was out to play to that third base. What about that?
Man, I just try to get those wheels going, and hopefully when I get them going, I end up on third.
And what about some of the guys that's been mentors for you?
They've been good, man. Everybody's been good. I mean, I've had Coco Crisp and a few other veteran guys on my team, my brother, Ricky Weeks, Prince Fielder, Barry Larkin, a number of guys, man. They've all been great for me, so it's been good.
All right, well, I know you got to get ready here, but we appreciate you for taking time.
Appreciate it, man.
Do a dynamic duo of the brothers in the big leagues.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Tried to get it all in, and I think we might have just gotten it in. So you make sure you tune us in and catch us on our next show. Classic Major League Interviews.